federal government, that the independent states do have the authority to do some things like control gun ownership, for example. Who has the right to bear arms? Does the individual state have the right to do something like that?
Well, that's a pretty deep question, actually, because it goes into an understanding of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights that we have been extremely negligent about in America. We have this argument of, does the Constitution bind just the federal government, or does it just bind the states, or are the states brought in? How does that work? And the reality is that we're not asking the right questions. The Declaration of Independence, see, our states were created on July 2nd, 1776, through the ratification of the Lee Resolution. The Declaration of Independence announced the passage of the Lee Resolution, declared to the world what we had done. And in the Declaration of Independence, it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. And when any form of government becomes destructive of these means, so our rights do not come from government and they do not come from documents. The only reason we create any government on the planet is to secure our rights. And when any form of government becomes destructive of our rights, it is the right then, and the duty, Jefferson would say later, of the people to alter or abolish it." So what we have to really understand is, what are the inalienable rights of the people? Samuel Adams wrote in 1772, he said, "Among the natural rights of the colonists are these: first, life; secondly, liberty; third, property, together with the right to protect and defend them in the best means possible." Because if you don't have the right to life, then you're dead. If you don't have the right to liberty, then you're a servant. If you don't have the right to secure property, then there's no way you're going to live, and you are a subject to whoever owns the property that you have. If you don't have the right to defend these things, then you're a slave. If you don't have a right, you have to ask permission. So if I have to ask permission to the government to protect my life, my liberty, or my property, then I am not a free man. And so the question is, do the states have the authority to control gun ownership? I would say no, because it's an inalienable right. The problem is, you lose your liberty when you harm somebody else. If I use a gun to hurt you, then I have forfeited my liberty.
Why?
And that's why. Because that's the natural law. Natural law is, as John Locke explains it, and the art framers go on again, is that liberty knows no bound other than that you cannot harm another. Because then if I can freely take your life, then you no longer have a right to it. So it requires, see, liberty and freedom are not the same thing. Freedom means I'm free to lie, and I'm free to steal, and I'm free to murder. I'm free to do whatever I want to do. Liberty is freedom plus morality. Whatever is that moral compass that says, I am free to do whatever I want. But you know, there's some things that I won't do because they're wrong. There's some things that I won't do because I don't want somebody else to do them to me. And it's a respect for someone else's property boundaries. And in the eyes of our framers, property wasn't just the place where you stepped your feet. Property, James Madison wrote a brilliant paper on property